Hey guys, hope you're doing good today. Jonathan Mills Patrick with you again. Today I want to talk to you about, we're going to start switching topics on the podcast here soon and talk a lot about marketing. As a matter of fact, coming up, some of the interviews that I'm going to have on the show are going to be subject matter experts around marketing, things like search engine optimization, branding, and other things, because one of the places I see a lot of startups fail is around this idea of marketing and what they need to do to get their startup recognized out in the marketplace. So I wanted to bring those topics to you and talk about them. And today I want to talk to you about how you can compete on a CPC level, a cost per click, when you're running online ads. Now, if you're a startup, you probably have a very limited budget for these types of things. And so trying to compete on the keywords that are really expensive is not a good idea. Here's an example. So let's say you have a fintech company and you offer loans, let's call it person-to-person P2P loans, right? And let's say you're running a Google ad and you are competing around the keywords small business loans. Now, you can imagine with the number of people that offer those types of solutions that is a very competitive keyword. And when it's competitive like that, the cost for every time someone clicks on your ad, right, CPC, is very expensive. I don't know what it is. I haven't looked recently, but I would not be surprised if it's north of $20 per click. And if you're running those ads and you're being successful and you're generating loans that make you more money than $20 per click, it's a profitable business. But still, fronting $20 per click, or in some instances $50 per click, depending on some of the keywords I've looked at, is really expensive and probably not the best place for you to spend your money. Again, unless you really have a good dialed in marketing funnel and you can make use of those dollars. So what do you do? I mean, if these are keywords that are important to your industry, important to your business, how do you compete on them in the first place? And a tactic I like to advise people to use, and I've used myself, is to find what I call some of the alternative keywords that aren't as competitive, but have good volume and are similar to the really competitive keywords. So just trying to riff with you a little bit. If small business loans is a little too competitive and the CPC is a little too expensive for your taste, what about trying business loans? I imagine that one's pretty competitive too. Maybe you can try business funding. Maybe you can add another word into the mix. Instead of small business loans, maybe try medium-sized business loans, or, lines of credit. There's another example you could use. You could target a specific type of loan, a line of credit, and see if those keywords can compete better and the less expensive. Now, you still want to have a decent amount of volume, right? I always recommend at least having 500 searches per month. That way, if you get 10% of them, that's 50 people. And then if you close, half of those, that's 25, right? So I always recommend 500 searches per month. I also recommend a CPC probably around $5 is not too bad for Google ads and things like that. and then I also recommend, along those categories, something that's maybe less than 50. So what I mean with the competitiveness, so what I mean is sites that I use like SERPstat that I've talked about before will rank the competitiveness of a keyword from 0 to 100, 0 being not very competitive and 100 being extremely competitive. And so I always like to look at a mix of these categories. So more than 500 searches per month, less than $5, and less than 50 in competitiveness. And those are just things that have worked for me. You need to play around with those yourself. But that's one way to compete on keywords, and you're not spending 20 plus or $50 per keyword click that you're getting. When you're doing something like that, you're just going to burn through your marketing budget pretty quickly. I mean, if you're running even a few $1,000s in ads at $20 to $50 a click, that's going to go pretty quickly, right? And just remember, they're clicking to go to your landing page. They haven't even bought anything from you yet. That's just a potential lead that then once they get to your landing page, you have to convert. So what I'm getting at, to summarize back to you, is one of the ways to compete on CPC, or cost per click, with Google ads and your marketing dollars is to find these alternate words, keywords that aren't as competitive but have a decent amount of search volume and won't cost you as much. Then you just dial your ad in to match those and your landing page to match those, and then you can usually compete. So I hope that information helps you. I'm going to stick around here for another second and share just a little bit more information for you that doesn't have anything to do with CPC. So if you came on wanted to listen to my suggestion there, you can go ahead and hit stop and move on. But I want to give you a little bit of a rant and share one more piece of information that happened today. So One of the things that I see happen with a lot of people is they want you to, they make broad claims about their startup. So today I had someone seeking to work with me and wanted to hire me for my services. They wanted me to present a proposal to them to work with them to help them raise funding. But one of the reasons I actually turned it down, I didn't even put in a proposal in or an amount or bid. And one of the reasons I did that was they were making ridiculous claims in their summary that they sent to me about their startup. They were saying things like, my startup's going to go viral. I already have people who are telling me that they want this. I already have people who are saying that this is the best idea they've ever heard. And that may be true. Clearly, this person was excited about their startup, and maybe they're going to be very successful. I hope they really are. But one of the things I caution you against is making these broad claims. And here's really why. Not only does it not sound intelligent to be so bold about your predictions, something's going to go viral. I mean, let's be honest, that doesn't happen that often. But the other thing is you're opening up yourself for liability when you're working with investors. What I mean by that is the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC, governs all of these activities, and they don't really like people making claims about investment opportunities. Another example that I have seen, it didn't happen today, but I have seen when some people have emailed me and said, I can guarantee investors they'll make 10% return. That's an immediate red flag. And that's something that the SEC would smack you around with quite a bit for making that bold claim, unless you can substantiate it and prove it. If you can, good for you. So I'm going to just remind you to be careful with the claims you make, particularly in public, and be careful how that may be received as an investor. If you make these bold claims and then you can't substantiate them, and or the investor goes ahead and puts money into your startup and you can't really perform at the level you quote unquote guaranteed an investor you were going to be able to do, you just opened yourself up and your startup up to being sued or getting in trouble with regulatory agencies. So I want to encourage you to contain that excitement a little bit. Only make claims that you really can support with hard data that is not relevant to somebody else, but relevant to exactly you and what you have done. And be careful about making promises about returns or opportunities or how quickly a business of yours is going to grow. Be smart with your startup, build it for the long term, and get investors based on the merits of what you're doing and how you're going to do it, not these broad claims. Anyhow, I hope that information helps you. As always, I appreciate you guys being with me. Thanks a lot. Have a great day.